Recently, I asked my audience what is their desired outcome when it comes to their journey with God, and what are some of the obstacles or challenges that they're facing as they're going about that. And I had one particular person respond and share how they just want to know that they are living out what they were created for with God, fulfilling their purpose. But the obstacle and challenge that they're experiencing is letting go of shame, worry, and anxiety. And I fully relate to this, and I want to say, if you're dealing with that same thing, maybe you are like this individual, you just want to know that you're walking out your path and that you are fulfilling everything that you're created for. But like this person, you also may be struggling to let go of things like shame, anxiety, and worry. And if that's you, I want to say, first of all, that it's not your fault. I think this is a big dilemma in a large part of the body in general. I think we have many teachers but few fathers, as Paul says, and I think part of that is that we haven't learned how to deal to a lot of the heart stuff. I mean, we've been great at working the tools and the mechanics, but we haven't been too great at actually dealing to the areas of the heart. And so I thought I'll just share a bit about my process, how I deal with things like anxiety, worry, and shame, how I've dealt with it in the past, because it was definitely something that rattled me for a number of years, even into my Christian journey. But there has been some tools that have really helped me to overcome this, to the point where now today I rarely, if ever, have a struggle with it. And so it's really simple for me when it comes to that. When it comes to emotions and feelings, specifically negative feelings like anxiety, shame, or worry, there are only two places in my mind. Let me back up a bit. There are only two places that any kind of pain or discomfort or negative feeling comes from. I only see two lists. So on one list, there is pain that comes from the natural process of growth and pruning. So John 15, Jesus talks about pruning those who grow so that they can grow more. So naturally, the process of growth and maturity is uncomfortable. It's just part of the process for that. And so that is actually a good pain, because it's a pain that's bearable. You can handle it. It's tough, but it's good because it actually makes you better, makes you more mature, and helps you to grow and to experience more abundance, goodness, and freedom. And it's kind of like when you are learning something new, it's not comfortable straight away, but eventually it becomes easier, you become better. So there is one list of pain where it's actually good, so that's from the place of growth. But then there is another list of pain which actually is bad for you, and this list of pain comes from wrong thinking. So this could be wrong thinking about yourself, it could be wrong thinking about God, it could be wrong thinking about life. And wrong thinking will always lead to symptoms and negative emotions like anxiety, worry, and shame. And so having those two lists there makes it very simple for me to diagnose and discern straight away, where is this pain source coming from? Where is the symptom coming from? And so if, say for example, it's just this pain that I know this is just stretching me, I'm out of my comfort zone, then it's likely I'm in a pruning season and this is a good thing. So I just trust the process, walk it out. But if it's something like anxiety, shame, or worry, immediately that fits into that other list of pain that comes from wrong thinking. And so now that I can discern and diagnose that, I can now deal to the issue. So anxiety, worry, and shame, they are simply a fruit of a root. And so this root is a deep-seated belief that you and I have. Many times it's a belief we don't realize that we have. And that belief can come from things like soul wounds, from traumas, from hurts, from bitterness, from unforgiveness, from false teaching, false beliefs, religious beliefs, limiting beliefs. But those types of beliefs and thinking then creates or gives more room for things like anxiety, shame, and worry. And so often what you and I have tried to do, we've tried to deal to the fruit. So we try to do things to get over anxiety, we try to do things to get over shame and to get past worry. But whenever you cut the fruit without dealing to the root, the fruit will eventually grow back. And that's one of the things that I often seen, and that's one of the things that happened for me, is that I would deal to it for a moment and it would feel great for a time, only to then come back. And then I'd feel like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what's going on? And it wasn't until I was able to dissect and see those two lists and realize, okay, this symptom of anxiety, worry, or shame is coming from a wrong belief. So there's a wrong belief that Lee has either about life or about God or about himself that needs to be uprooted, to be plucked out. And as you do that, when you deal to the root, the fruit naturally takes care of itself. And so that's the simplicity of how I see these things when it comes to that. So if you're in the position right now where you are dealing with a negative or discomfort, but it's not in the sense where it's uncomfortable in the point that it's stretching you, like it's bearable, it's tough, but you can handle it. Well, this is most likely pruning for you. So I want you to know it's all good. Stay with the process, hold the vine. Or if you are experiencing, like this individual, anxiety, shame, or worry, that's a pretty good hint that there is a wrong belief inside you that needs to be dealt to. So we are a three-part being: spirit, soul, and body. So our spirit man is completely perfect. 1 Corinthians 6:17 says that we're one spirit with Christ. And so God regenerates our spirit, but our soul, which is your mind, will, and emotions, that's what you and I have to renew. So Romans 12, renewing your mind. So your spirit man is perfect, but it's your soul, your mind, will, and emotions that you and I are renewing to line back up with the truth of what's in our spirit. So that's why we call it a revelation, because it's a revelation of what's already true in my spirit. And so that's why you have those kind of click light bulb moments when something makes sense, because it's like, oh, this makes sense. And it's because what is true in your spirit, or rather your soul, has been renewed to line up with what's true in your spirit, and that's why you have those light bulb moments. And so that's what's going on here. And as we are on this growth journey of maturing more into the fullness and stature of Christ, it's your and my soul that is being renewed to line up with our regenerated spirit. So the junk in your trunk is going to come up. The soul wounds at different areas of your heart, of your mind, your thinking, those things are all going to come up. And it's part of this process of maturing and becoming more like your good Father. And so it's a hard thing and it's a difficult thing, but it's a good thing. And so being able to discern, okay, is this just simply and purely a pruning process? All good, hold the line. Or is this actually a false belief here? I've got to now tend to that. So like a garden, when weeds come up, weeds grow on their own accord. They don't ask you for permission. Weeds just grow on their own. And so it's up to you and I to tend to the garden, to tend to the weeds. And so by having those two lists there and seeing it clearly, I can immediately diagnose, all right, anxiety, shame, worry, well, that comes under the list of wrong thinking. So this is a symptom of wrong thinking. All right, I've got to deal to the wrong thinking. I've got to renew my mind back to truth. Once I renew the area of my soul back to truth, it lines up with my spirit, boom, revelation. And now my physical reality and perspective changes throughout that as well. So I hope that makes sense to you. That's just part of my process and how I walk that out. It's been tremendously helpful for me. Like I said, to the point where now I rarely, if ever, deal with anxiety, worry, or shame. In fact, it's almost like the area of your soul, when you're dealing to those thorns or those lies or those false beliefs, when the area is removed and plucked out, God's goodness can fill it, and it becomes like this extra armor or this guard against those arrows that try to bring about fear, anxiety, and shame. And so renewing your soul, renewing your mind, very, very important, and it's part of this maturity process. I do also want to say that both can be happening simultaneously. So you can be in a pruning season, and at the same time, while God's stretching you and growing you in a good way, He can also be plucking out the thorns that are there too. And so this can be happening simultaneously as well. So it's not always just clear cut one or the other. Many times it's simultaneous. And I've been in many moments where I'm being stretched, I'm in a pruning season, and in areas of my heart that I did not even know were there were coming up. And so I had to face it, I had to deal to the junk in my trunk. But once you face it and you let that go, the area of your soul that was once covered by a thorn now gets to be removed and then restored, or rather replaced by the goodness of your good Father. And it's a very exciting thing, and that's when life becomes fun. And so I've been at this for a while, to the point where now there's more joy, there's more peace, there's more freedom. You're living in your original state and intent, because that's who you truly are in your spirit, man. The Prince of Peace lives in you, and peace is your and my original state and intent. And so things like anxiety, worry, bitterness, fear, shame, that's not what we were designed to carry. We weren't created to carry that. And so I hope that makes sense to you anyway. And that's just my process of how I deal with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's my hope that we would all, as we're journeying and we're all maturing in this process with God, that we would know how to deal with stuff that for many times we haven't been equipped to do, and it's been hard and difficult, and many times we feel like we're banging our head against the wall, we're going around in circles, but clear, streamlined, just thinking like this helps me to process through that, and it's helped many of my clients as well. So hope that makes sense to you. I do want to say I'm not your God, I'm not your guru. I'm happy to be your guide for a moment if that helps as well, but I'm just sharing my process and hope that it would help any of you who are going through the same thing. So if you are wanting to live a life that is like this individual, I just want to know that I'm living what I was created for, but there are these blockages like anxiety and shame that are there. Well, through this tool, I have the two list. I see, all right, this is anxiety and shame. This is under the list of wrong thinking. All right, deal to the wrong thinking. Is it a soul wound? Is it a false belief? Is it a trauma from my past? Whatever it might be, deal to it, allow truth to come in, remove the thorn, replace it with goodness, and now your perspective of life absolutely changes. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Bless you, and I hope you don't mind while I'm driving, I'm sharing this. I'm in a stage of life where very busy family, so 4 beautiful children, and it's epic. I'm loving it, and I don't get much time to be able to sit and just film a video. And so the way that I'm flowing with this at the moment, I just thought, hey, why don't I, while I'm in between kindy pickups or meetings while I'm driving, I can just flip on the phone and share a bit of what's helpful for me, part of my process. So hope that makes sense to you. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear it. If there's any other things that you are pursuing but there are obstacles in the way as well, we'd love to hear it. But also, if you've got anything to add to this that can help, because like I said, I'm not your God, I'm not your guru, and I do not know everything. And if you've got something that can add to this that can really help, I would love to hear it as well. And I'm sure many others would love to hear what you have to share with us too. So Bless you, and we'll talk soon.